Hey, what's up, guys? Tugi here, back again. This is Draft to Glory, and let's get right down to business, because before we can begin the sim on this next season, we have to take a look at our roster. We have to see what kind of progression we have had from our players, which could very well lead us into making trades for the first time in this series. So let's go ahead and get this team finalized before we make that decision. But the first thing you guys are going to notice, I'm just saying, I defended the Steven Quirk pick. He's an 86 overall at 22 years old, listed as a starting goalie, whereas Jake Ottinger is still listed as a backup. So we can reasonably keep two 86 overall goalies as our tandem this year. Could we make the playoffs this season? I'd like to think so, just off of that fact alone. Two 86s in goal for us this season. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And down in the AHL, you may be asking yourself what that situation is. It's not as ideal, but we're still going to keep everything the same. Marion Saget at an 83, listed as a minor league starting goalie. Marman Lind at an 82. But because of the auto-rotate goalies, both goaltenders will be getting a fair amount of time in the crease between the pipes, so we're going to keep the goaltending the way it is. I figured I might have to trade Marman Lind in this episode depending on the progression of Saget. No, we're good. Our 5 goalies are set. We are good to go. The goaltending situation is better than I ever could have expected. Looking at the defense, the question is, obviously Ferraro, Manez, and Chorny will be sent down. But is there somebody better than a 78 overall that could replace Verkunen? You bet your sweet ass there is. Ken Janes up to an 82 already at 19 years old, which is insane. Not to mention Weeding is listed at a 79 overall. Unfortunately for him, that's not going to be good enough for the NHL level. You could argue putting him in the lineup over Kip Goring, but for now, we're good to go. We are good to go. We'll have Weeding and Verkunen as the top pairing. Malakoff and Hayduk, Ronkel. And then from there, it's interesting. Because as you can tell, we have a logjam of players as far as defense goes in the minor league system. And that's probably where a trade is going to have to be made. But we'll talk about that more in a minute. When looking at the forwards, of course, we have Nolan Patrick at a 92. Only 3 players above an 80, but that might change depending on who is available down in the system. We have Card and Valaket, both 74, so we'll look at calling them up really quickly. So let's see, we have McIntyre, Coop, Card, and Valaket. So we'll have to see who best lines puts into the lineup, and then from there we'll send down the other. But with Nolan Patrick, with our goaltending, we could be a playoff team. It could happen, guys. Unfortunately for Michel Valaket, he'll be sent down most likely. Let me see, Coop is low top 9, Card is low bottom 6. Tough to say, but you know what? I'll trust the game's judgment for once, and we will go with Valaket down in the AHL. So let me fix that up really quick, and then we might, as I mentioned, have to look at making some trades. I've put some thought into how I want to handle it. I think I have the best approach for this series. We'll see whether or not people agree with me. But there you go. That is the AHL squad at the moment. We do have 12 forwards, which is nice. So the AHL will be made up of all forwards that we have drafted, which is pretty damn sweet. And of course, the NHL lineup is good to go. Janes on the top pairing with Manulin. Not too shabby. And then the goaltending, Steven Quirk. Steven Quirk. Who needs Yip? Who needs him? We have Steven Quirk. But let's see. You notice how many defensemen are scratched. We do have Ralph Wojciechowski, who is a scratch at a 57. So we at least have one forward scratch. But actually, no, we have 2. Never mind. I missed Sergei Nazarov. So we're in a really good spot. Although Natanen's in the lineup. Yeah, and so is Budish. So never mind. Never mind. But that does mean, at least I don't have to worry about signing players as depth. We are good to go. As far as, if there's an injury, one of those 2 guys can easily take a spot on the lineup. So Wojciechowski will be getting playing time this season, which is ridiculous. And we technically only have one left wing. At some point, I'll probably have to take a look at the current setup for, you know, like player types and all that, but I'm not all that concerned. We have a lot of low top 9 players on the team. Good God. Like a lot of low top 9 players. I want to sort this all out really quick. Torsten Johansson, by the way, 6th round pick, 69 overall at 20 years old, will be one of the top players, I would imagine, for the team this season. And we have another low top 9 there in Burns, but he is one of the higher overall players, so he'll probably get some decent ice time, medium top 9, and then Ralph Wojciechowski at a low top 6. So how much ice time do I want Wojciechowski to get is the question. That is the question. So for centers, we can have Burns on that side. Who else is actually all these guys are technically centers. We'll swap Sontag and Conley around. And then down on the third line, swap DePenta and Johansson. And then the fourth line is pretty much good to go. We'll just swap Ryan and Curtis. The Hershey Bears are looking pretty good with the exception of a 57 overall 18-year-old grinder in the lineup. But overall, things are looking pretty good. Defensively, we can take out Hakanpää, or however the fuck you pronounce his name. And the question is, who replaces him? Who replaces him? You have Kalle Hedberg, you have Ferraro, Manez, Kyle Hood, a medium 7th, Oleg Bobrovsky, you have McDermott, and Ben Byrne, and it would have to be Ben Byrne, based on that low top 4. So Ben Byrne gets into the lineup. He'll more than likely be, well, let's see here. Medium 4. Could even argue for Hayduk not being in the lineup anymore. But let's see, Malakoff, everyone's medium 4 at this point. So we'll go with Weeding and Ronkel again, and then Verkunen with Malakoff. The Hershey Bears are going to be a half-decent team. The goaltending set. The question is, do we look at making trades defensively? Because you look at how many players are scratched here. Hood, Ferraro, McDermott, Manez, Hedberg, Bobrovsky. Simply too many scratches. Simply too many. We could easily get rid. I mean, we have 6 defensemen scratched. You could argue getting rid of 3 out of 3 or 4 of them total. Nicholas Manez would probably be one. He's not going to develop. We can keep Bobrovsky. Probably get rid of Ferraro and Kalle Hedberg as well, seeing as they are 22 years old. So Manez, Hedberg, and Trevor Ferraro, they have to go. So how are we going to handle this situation? Pretty simple, really. Pretty simple. I could trade them, and actually we'll try to trade them individually. What we're going to do is we're going to find the most valuable pick that we can acquire them for and do a straight 1-for-1 swap. Simple as that. I was tempted to maybe factor in that Manez was drafted in the, and it won't even let me look from here, so hold on, let me go through this again because it has to be difficult. So Manez was a 6th round pick, right? I was tempted to say, oh, okay, so we can't get higher than a 6th. Odds are we won't. I can't imagine, for example, if we asked the Ducks for like a 4th or a 5th here that they'll accept. They might. I could be proven wrong, and actually they'd have too many skaters. So let's go talk to Arizona. Will they accept a 4th round pick? No, and it said it wasn't even close. Will they accept a 5th round pick? Probably not. No. So, see, case in point, odds are someone who's a bust that we took in the 6th round, we're not going to get back a higher pick. We're not even going to get back fair value, or at least what we took him for. Let's see, can we get a 7th? If not, we are going to have to package him with one of the other defensemen. 7th round pick did go through. So Manez, overall, when you look back, you can say that was a bust of a pick. He was a 6th round pick, and in the end, we end up trading him for a 7th. Bit of a shame, but it happens. It happens. In the end, he wasn't that great of a pick for us. Who else were we talking about? We were talking about Kalle Hedberg. Now, I could try to go back to Arizona, but let's see if we can spread the wealth a little bit. How about the Chicago Blackhawks? The Chicago Blackhawks. Can we work out a deal? Let's see, as a 4th round, the 4th, actually, he has some value. Can we get a 3rd round pick for Hedberg? No, we can't. All right, not even close. It was worth the shot. It was worth the shot. How about a fourth? The fourth went through. So we end up trading Calle Hedberg for a fourth-round pick. When did we draft Hedberg, and what round was he? Because that's a pretty decent return to get a third-round pick for him. He was a fifth-round pick, so some people might have an issue with that, right? Some people might think, oh, you should have only been allowed to trade him for a fifth-round pick. And maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, as we do add a third-round pick. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should have only been able to get a fifth-round pick out of it. As, oh, God, Duncan. I didn't want to see him ever again. Oh, my God, a 90. Holy shit. Oh, that's harsh. That is harsh. Well, I don't know. Anyway, back on track. It is tough, though. I mean, I can see what some people are saying, like, oh, you know, you got a third-round pick for him. That's kind of bullshit since he wasn't going to make it anyway. And I don't necessarily agree. Like, Ferraro, for example, has really good trade value for someone in his position, right? He was a fourth-round pick. We should be able to get a third out of him, too. So is that a bit overkill? Maybe. But then otherwise, we're just handing away players for less than fair value and handcuffing ourselves even further. We might be able to get a second-round pick for Ferraro, especially, too, from someone like Colorado, who are still listed with the Champions tag. So, I don't know. Can we get a second-round pick for Ferraro? No, we can't. But again, that's why I'm doing one-for-one deals, but we'll get another third-round pick out of it for sure. Actually, to the point where I'd rather go to a team that doesn't have the Champions tag to try and get a more valuable third-round pick. Let's see. Minnesota wouldn't be... Minnesota actually would be pretty bad. We need a rebuilder. Montreal? How many? I didn't even see how many contracts they were at. I hit the button too quick. Will that go through? No, it won't. So we can't even get a third. Or at least not a third that's decently valued. So how about Minnesota's third? Will that go through? Yes, it will. So there you go. Ferraro turned into another third-round pick. Should they both be, fourths? I think both of those guys that we just traded were in that spot. Should they be fourths? Should they be thirds? I understand the complaints if there are any, but overall, I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make, you know? Because odds are, what's going to happen if we take that fourth-round pick again? He's not going to pan out, and we just trade him again for another fourth-round pick, and it's an endless cycle. You know, it might, in a way, be taking advantage of the game's poor programming, for lack of a better term. It is tough to say. It's tough to say, but for now, that is the approach that we are taking, and I completely forgot who I wanted to get rid of with the next pick. So allow me to go back and double-check. But Manez out the door, as well as two other defensemen. Let me just double-check here. So yeah, it was Ferraro, Hedberg, and Manez. A seventh, a fourth, and a third added for those three players. Which, in fairness, if I were to combine them, I could have gotten a second-round pick. So I'm not being as cheap as I could be. I could have easily traded them for a second-round pick if I were to have combined them all together. But let me double-check again here. So we have Hood, McDermott, and Bobrovsky. That's good. Yep, so we're good. We traded 3 out of 6. We are good to go, and we're good to start the season sim. So we do acquire some draft picks. I didn't pick Horde. I didn't go out and kind of cheat it to get as high of a pick as I could. We traded them for fair value or as close to it as decided by the AI themselves. And we will get the sim underway. I just need to set the scouting really quick. And I think after last year's debacle of the 2-week plan not working, we are going to go for 3. I'm going to go for 3 weeks. I'm going to go for 3 weeks, and then, at least in the most important scouting regions, we need information on these prospects. We just have to. So we'll go 3 weeks for the scouting plan. Of course, we'll start over in the CHL, work our way to the States, and then probably go over to Sweden, Russia, as the other 2 primary regions. But let's get this season underway. What will the Washington Capitals look like this year? As we add a new face in Ken Janes, the goaltending takes a huge step up with the addition of Steven Quirk, 286 overall goalies in general. Will we be a playoff team after getting the 9th overall pick. Instead of being in the top 5, the top 3, or even the number 1 overall pick, we end up with the 9th pick. We do have, the last episode, the draft itself, not tremendous by any stretch, but it did help out the Hershey Bears, and we'll see what Hershey can do. They won over 20 games last season. I don't know what to expect, because previously, we had a really good year, and then the next year, we didn't exactly regress, but it kind of felt like we took a step back. The same thing could happen this season. I'm not entirely sure, although we did just get 2 back-to-back shutout wins. One was in a shootout, but a 4-0 shutout win over the Calgary Flames. You should be embarrassed. You should be tremendously embarrassed by that scoreline. Wow. That is harsh. But again, we are a team on the rise. Am I still understating? As apparently it'll be a good year in the draft, which is really good, especially since we have acquired some of those extra picks. And I could even go out and get one more extra pick. There is one other defenseman we can move. That way we have 2 depth defensemen and the AHL signed guy, Hakanpää, in case of injury. We'd have them signed. And I might do that by the deadline. I might move one more defenseman to get that extra draft pick. But I don't know. We'll see what happens here. In the end, it might be somewhat irrelevant because we could very well be a playoff team and we'd need those extra picks to still add some half-decent players. I'll continue to say it as we go through the series. Who knows what this team would look like had we ended up with a certain franchise-level player, had we ended up with Duncan on defense. But overall, we're still getting there. Although you would have noticed our trade values are still pretty piss poor, which is a shame, but that's just the way the game is. You can have someone with medium top 4 potential that he's worth a 3rd-round pick at best, and that doesn't seem to sound right just in general, but it is the way the game works. As Anton Lindholm on waivers, again, I made the ruling waivers would not be a part of this series. We would have added at least 2 decent players now. I think in the past 3 episodes we have had 2 decent players appear on waivers, but overall, simply not worth it. Simply not worth it. And I have brought this up too, progression-wise. Like Owen Lane's kind of capping out at the 77 despite the medium bottom 6 potential. It makes you wonder, how decent would he be? Would he be a low 80s guy if he had played at the AHL level first? He and Nolan Patrick were 2 of our first picks in that 2017 draft. Would they, Patrick's progressed, but would Owen Lane have progressed better at the AHL level? And that, of course, was part of the experiment with this series. But talking about defensemen, Kyle Hood's 21, so but he has decent odds are it would be Troy McDermott. Troy McDermott, a former 7th-round pick, who would get traded. And whether or not we'd be able to recoup even a 7th-round pick for him, who knows? That could be the problem. If not, we might have to add one of those other defensemen in just in case to make a move there. But we are at the point where both squads, NHL and AHL level, are made up pretty much of just our players, which is a nice situation to be in. Very nice. And that way, too, the only time we'd really have to factor in signing AHL or, signing players from the free agent list is when we need guys for the cap hit, because we are going to be well below the cap ceiling for pretty much the entirety of this series. Now, I've talked about, will we ever see a time where both teams are in the playoffs? Will we ever, somehow, some way, find our way to the Stanley Cup? I genuinely don't think we'll ever see a time in this series where we have to worry about being under the cap floor. Like, oh, we have too many players. How are we going to make the cap situation work? I don't think that's going to be a factor in the series. I could be wrong. If we start getting crazy player development, if we, just find a way to end up with a ton of, mid, like 85 overall and up guys like we tend to on other series, it might happen. But with the trade value of a lot of players we get, potentials not always being a hit as far as the players we draft, I don't think that specifically will be an issue. But you never know. You never know. I don't know what to expect with this draft. Not in the slightest, or with the series in general, and the upcoming draft, for that matter, as Janes, again, still on that top pairing. That is sweet. And then goaltending-wise, Ottinger to 914. Steven Quirk has actually struggled a little bit as the starter for this team, which is concerning. It is his rookie year, despite him being an 86 overall. He made a huge leap in overall number between the end of last season and the start of this season. But overall, that goalie situation is incredible. It is incredible. And whether or not we end up having to trade one of them, odds are we'd only get a first-round pick out of it. The most I can do is maybe hold off on when I actually trade them so that I can try to get, like a better first-round pick or something in return. But overall, if we have to trade a player like that, we are going to take a hit because I am doing the one-for-one trade strategy as opposed to getting multiple picks per trade. Oh boy, but this will be interesting. It will be the first draft coming up where we've made more than 7 picks. I mean, we are in 2024, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Breezing through. Of course, as you would expect when each episode is an hour or so, that we'd be making a ton of progress. But still, I am very much enjoying this series, and it's very evident you guys have been as well. But can we should be able to reach 20 wins here by the All-Star break. That's the hope, and we're only 1 win away. We have won 4 out of our last 5 games to start the new year. It was an overtime loss to Toronto, and then a 5-2 loss to the Bruins, so there goes that winning streak. But there you have it, win number 20 over the New Jersey Devils, as we switch the scouting over to the United States region. It would be cool if they could get the rights to, just be like, oh, the USHL, just the actual, the national team development program, stuff like that. Like if they were to split the the US into 2 different scouting regions for the USHL and the national team development program, that would be pretty cool. But licenses, they are not the easiest to get, are they? Which is a bit of a shame, and of course that factors in, to the Olympics and the IIHF and all that stuff. But the more realism, the better, right? But it's just a shame. Things cost money. What a shame. I almost said 32. That just would have been wrong. 23 wins at the All-Star break. A pretty similar record to what we had at this stage last year as Ken Janes goes down to injury for a couple of weeks. That could really hinder us this season. Put Taylor Chorney into the lineup, which is a very obvious step down at this stage. But we'll see what the team can do in his absence. 21 wins as well for the Hershey Bears. I don't expect them to make the playoffs, but it could happen. Again, with their goaltending tandem, it could happen. We will wait and see. This could be a very special year for this franchise, although I am concerned, of course. The 5 overtime losses will help out, but 25 losses on the year, I just don't want to get my hopes up too early. I'm not expecting anything. Still, I am not expecting anything. I have patience with this series. You look at this lineup, right? The top line's good. Svechnikov listed as a second-line guy. Winquist listed as a third-line guy. But everybody else is below an 80. So if we make the playoffs, that would be the upset of the century. That would be the story there. Oh my God, Janes, what? How did he jump to an 88? Here, let me go best lines, because we're going to have to fix up the power play units, or we needed to fix up the power play units. Ken Janes has jumped to an 88 overall. Move over Matt Spencer from Rebuilding Hockeytown. This progression is unbelievable. Oh my God, can you imagine him and Duncan as our top pair? That's all I can think of. Can you imagine him and Duncan as our top pairing, and Svechnikov, Patrick, and a certain medium franchise player as our top line? Oh my God, that's the thing that sucks, man, is the team could be even better at the moment. We could be that much better than what we already are. But unfortunately, the lottery did not go our way at that point in time. But that's okay. That's okay. As we lost to Philly. Hope you enjoyed that number 1 overall pick, you dicks. Didn't see you fall to the 2nd pick. Fucking assholes in Philly. Lucky bastards. Lucky bastards. It is February 24th, 2024. Oh, God. I'm sorry. There's just something surreal about that date. Oh, my God. I'm just going to say, me personally, I'm not looking forward to that date. Not looking forward to it. But anyway, we are currently on 57 points, 8 points back of Pittsburgh. And I am going to make that one extra defenseman swap to get that extra pick. So let's see here. I was talking about trading McDermott. I don't know what we'll get for him, if anything. But let's see. I mean, I'm hopeful for a 7th so that we don't have to pair him up with anybody else. Toronto does want to make a trade for their lower picks, though. And the 5th actually went through. Wow. I should have tried for the 4th. All right, so McDermott for a 5th. I'm cool with that. We turned a 7th round pick into a 5th, which, again, no guarantee with the 5th round pick. No guarantee that we'll get anybody better than what we already had with McDermott. So in the end, it all works itself out. But let's go. Let's keep simming. We are almost through this season. And, of course, there's an injury. Norm Ryan down in Hershey. The Bears have a winning record. Oh, my God. I didn't even notice. The Hershey Bears have a winning record. How do you like that? So as far as who I want to scout next, I mean, we will go Russians. Let's go Russians for 2 weeks. We'll start scouting the European leagues for 2 weeks each. I feel like that's a good number to hopefully get some information. We need to take Natanen out of the lineup in favor of Ryan, who is a center. Have we had any decent progression here? Conley's up to a 78, which isn't terrible. Wojcicka's at least up into the 60s, which isn't too bad. I don't know if any of these guys, aside from Conley, at least offensively, will be pushing for a spot. And wow, Wheating's up to an 82. Holy shit. All right. We need to make a move. All right, let's call up Wheating. He's up to an 82. As I dropped my pen there. Hopefully that didn't pick up too much on the mic. So yeah, Wheating needs to get the call up. I mean, he will drop to an 80. Well, never mind. You know what? No, we're going to keep him. Because if I call him up, he's going to drop to an 81, the same overall as the other two guys he could possibly replace. So if he jumps to an 83, then we'll call him up. I would rather have him on the first pair in the AHL than the third pair in the NHL. Some people might disagree. They might think that he would progress at a faster rate in the NHL, and you might not be wrong. But for now, let's keep the team together as we have 30 wins this season, 32 wins for the Hershey Bears. Who knows what could happen here? We have a lot of games this month, though. This is a pretty brutal final stretch to wrap up this season. I, again, have no idea what to expect, aside from the fact that I would assume we are once again not going to be a high lottery pick. Although, in fairness, we have lost 4 straight games. Our playoff hopes, 5 straight games now, our playoff hopes are rapidly disappearing. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that we won't be making the playoffs this year either, which again, a bit of a shame. You could argue maybe I should tank to try and, get myself a higher overall pick, but I really can't. It's not like I can send down either goalie at this point. Tanking isn't really an option. We just have to run with the players that we already have, and we have to hope for the best from there. Let's scout the SHL forwards for 2 weeks as we continue on, and go figure, we have a 4-game winning streak going now. Go figure, 35 wins, 5-game winning streak, a 6-game winning streak. The Capitals have something to prove. Oh my God, just out of nowhere, we start racking up the wins. We do get shut out against the Dallas Stars, which I assumed would happen. We do beat the Philadelphia Flyers. We beat the Minnesota Wild. We beat the New Jersey Devils. Oh my God. St. Louis Blues. Can we get the win? Can that be win number 40? Scouting's going to pop up. Yeah, I knew that's what that delay was for. Will we beat the Blues? Will we hit 40 wins for the first time? No, we won't. It comes down to the last day of the season. You did see it at the top of the screen. We have failed to make the playoffs. 84 points, though, man. 84 points. I mean, the two New York teams and the Penguins are, great teams, obviously, throughout this sim. But we keep getting closer and closer. Can we hit 40 wins? Yes, we can. With a 7-2 victory on the last day of the season, the Washington Capitals finish with 40 wins. The improvements continue, and looking at the Hershey Bears, they're playoff bound. For the first time in this series, we have a team that have made the postseason, and we will follow the Hershey Bears on their journey. No doubt about it. 43-win season for the Hershey Bears as they play the Binghamton Senators in the first round. We won't go in-depth with the sim, of course, to keep this episode somewhat timely, but let's follow along and see what happens. They did win the first game, but got absolutely blown out in the second game. Let's scout the Finnish League for 2 weeks, at least for the forwards. I might only go 1 week for the defensemen. And suddenly Hershey, they are on the brink of being eliminated, and there it is. So they get, for the first time at the very least, we have had a team make the playoffs, and we have seen a postseason victory, but the Hershey Bears fall in 4 games to the Binghamton Senators. But it's a start. It is a start. By the way, we got very lucky with injuries this season. I didn't have to edit too much. We're making really good time, I feel like, as long as I don't take too long with the stats, which I don't plan on doing. We do have to take care of the scouting a little bit more. I'm not going to get to scout the somewhat minor leagues. I don't, for lack of a better term, the Swiss League, the German League, and the Czech League. We're not going to get too much time to scout them out, but that's okay. I'd rather have a bit more detailed information from the leagues that tend to have the higher value players. We will scout the DEL forwards for a week, and then we'll see if we actually get to scout the defense for that league. It's looking like we will, so that's good. Indeed we will. Although we really do need forwards. So, let's scout the Swiss League forwards. I feel like more forwards have come from the Swiss League than the Czech League. We might even get to scout that region too, as long as we don't get a cup winner too early. Let's see what happens first. Cup winner or scouting? And scouting happens first. Beautiful. Yeah, you know what? That worked out pretty well. That worked out pretty damn well. All right, and there you go. The Pittsburgh Penguins are your Stanley Cup champions. The Syracuse Crunch win the Calder Cup, which could very well happen in real life, as they they made it to the finals over the Providence Bruins, but that's okay. That is okay. That happened a while ago. By the time this video goes up, but that's okay. That's okay. It's still on my mind. Not that I paid attention to the AHL too much this season with my team moving, but I won't get into that again. Let's look at the stats. So we finished with 86 points. How do you like that? As I want to go over to the entire league standings, where we finished in 20th. So we improved by 2 spots. Goals for per game, we were up there. We were up there, middle of the pack for our offense, and our defense, and again, not too bad. Outside the top 10, I do believe, for goals against per game. Our power play regressed a little bit, 14.9%, the 3rd worst in the league. But our penalty kill, 6th best in the NHL. So interesting how the special teams worked out there. We'll take a look at the stats. And again, Nolan Patrick, my God, he just continues to be a beast. It's like, hey, Arnold, pass the ball to Tucker. Pass the puck to Nolan. That's all you have to do. And he'll get the points. 88 points. 83 for Andrei Svechnikov. Both of them point-a-game players. Winquist with 59 points. 51 again for Owen Lane, despite only being, a 77-78 overall. Ken James with 36 points. Not too shabby from this team. Who was the worst as far as plus-minus goes? I do wonder. Minus 23 for Ola Ekman. But in the grand scheme of things, that is crazy. We get a look at the goaltenders, and Ottinger was actually the starter for most of the season. He finished, both goalies actually finished with a .914 save percentage. So the game gave Ottinger more starts, which I'm not necessarily surprised. He is still listed, though, as the backup goalie. Cork never complained about ice time, though. So that is fantastic for us. We'll quickly take a look at the Hershey Bears. Saget and Marmelin, basically did the complete split of the games. Both goalies had a pretty damn good season. Again, probably the reason why the Hershey Bears made the playoffs. Valaket with 61 points, a good idea to keep him down there. Conley with 50 points as well. So a really good season for the Hershey Bears. Let's go take a look at the league-wide scoring. Riley Tufte, 2 players broke 90 points. He and Max Pacioretty. Tufte with 101 points. High top 9. He's a 94. What the hell? That's absurd. That is absurd. Nolan Patrick was third, tied for third in league scoring with Vladimir Tarasenko, and Andrei Svechnikov tied for 5th in league scoring with Mark Scheifele. Lodnia, Stromwall certainly regressed. Owen Tippett up there for the Winnipeg Jets. Jeremy Bracco also with the Dallas Stars. You look at the assist leader, it was Tippett, Patrick, and Ricard Raquel with 61 each. The goal-scoring leader, of course, was Riley Tufte. Pretty damn crazy. You got to look at the playoff tree. The Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Minnesota Wild in 7 games. Colorado, the defending champions, swept in the first round. And then down in the AHL, Syracuse swept the Charlotte Checkers in 4. They actually beat the Providence Bruins on their way to the conference, or not to the conference final, in the conference final, on their way to the Calder Cup. Oh, let's take a look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Stanley Cup winning side, team even. So let's see here. Forwards, you have Matthew Barzal, Jordan Greenway, Anthony Duclair, Matthew Tkachuk, who's a 95, Austin Matthews, a 93, Andre Burakovsky, Franklin Friesen, Brendan Leipzig, Joel Eriksson-Ek, Anthony Beauvillier, Johan Larsson, and Tage Thompson. Good team. Not surprised. Good team. Defensively, Dominic Massine, 84 overall, Cam Fowler, Trevor Carrick, Adam Larson, Kyle Capobianco, Jake Bischoff, and Robin Salo. Goaltending, that could be the big factor. Daniel Vladar, 86 overall, so there you have it, an 86 overall, won a team the Stanley Cup. We have 2 of them. All the more reason as to why we should win the Cup next year, right? It's going to happen. No, it's not. Let's take a look at the awards before we get to the draft. We'll see if we managed to take home any hardware this time out. Not looking like it so far. We're coming up on the Selke, though. Will we have a 3-time winner? No, we won't. Mika Zibanejad takes it from Nolan Patrick. So no hardware at the NHL level. How about at the AHL level, though? With the Hershey Bears, can we get any hardware? No, we cannot. So potentially you could consider it a down year. 40 wins, though. We improved on last year. Slowly but surely, we are improving. But again, it's a bit of a risk. It's a bit of a risk. We didn't make the playoffs, unfortunately. And now we have to go into the draft with of course, a weaker first-round pick. We do have a couple of extra picks, though. Like I said, this draft, for the first time, we will be making more than 7 picks. And as you get, we won the lottery. Oh my God, we won the lottery. Are you serious? Are you fucking serious? We won the lottery. Oh my God. This game is so stupid. This game is so stupid. Holy shit. We finished, I would assume, in 10th or 11th. 11th. That 11th pick should have been ours. And we get the number 1 overall pick. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God. So we get the number 1 overall pick on top of having the extra picks that we already have. Oh my God. I was looking towards the bottom and like, wait a minute, where are we? We just won the lottery from what I would assume should have been the 11th pick. We had the number 1, we had the highest odds for so many drafts, and we got the number 1 pick. What? Once? Twice? Maybe? Oh my God. Wow. As Sidney Crosby, Max Pacioretty, Bobby Ryan, Okposo, Jordan Stahl, Milan Lucic, Weber, and Subban retire in the same year. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? We just won the lottery. That is absolutely insane. Oh my God. For the chances that we had in prior years, but to finish with the 11th in odds, we have the number 1 overall pick. And if there was ever a year to scout out each region for 3 weeks. This was it. Oh my God. So here we go. The top 5. The top 5. We have Abraham Duda from the Vancouver Giants, 17 years old, so his overall is going to be a bit weaker. You have Albert Myers, played for the Barrie Colts. We have Bobby Callahan, who played for Everett, but high top 6. I mean, it's him and Hudobin off the first look. Eddie Bulbrook, 17 though, so not ideal. Or 19-year-old Yuri Hudobin. So that's the question. It's Hudobin or Callahan from the information we have presented to us, right? It has to be. It has to be. All right. Callahan or Hudobin. The Latvian playmaker who played in Russia, so he can play in either league, and he's a year older. So he'll be better overall-wise in theory. Or do we go with Bobby Callahan, the Canadian sniper, 18 years old? I didn't expect to have this decision, guys. I mean, based off the information I have, it's not Myers, it's not Bulbrook, it's not Duda. Although it is funny that there's only one defenseman inside the top 5. It's Hudobin, and excuse the fact that this chair is awful. It's Hudobin or Callahan. I'm leaning towards Callahan because he's a sniper. But I genuinely think Yuri Hudobin would be the smarter choice. His trade value might be lower. But he's going to be a higher overall to start. He very well could be one of those players that's like a 78 overall in his rookie year and could turn into an 80 by the time the preseason rolls around. Yuri Hudobin or Bobby Callahan. I have to go with Hudobin. I have a good feeling that Bobby Callahan's going to be a hell of a player. And I really don't want to fuck this up because what an opportunity this is. But there isn't that one guy where it's like, okay, for sure him. And like I said, with Hudobin, he can be sent down to Hershey. He's a year older. Yuri Hudobin. I didn't mean to pin him. I forgot I was in the wrong screen. Yuri Hudobin is going to be the number 1 overall pick. Although there was a goalie, wasn't there? Yeah, he's outside the top 10. He's our guy. Yuri Hudobin, the number 1 overall pick, and he's high elite. Yes! There we go. Oh, that's beautiful. We just had a high elite player fall right into our lap. Oh my God. This game's absurd. We missed out on a franchise level player, but we get a high elite player in Yuri Hudobin. Bobby Callahan we made the right choice. One way or another, we made the right choice. Oh my God. All right, let's go take a look at Bulbrook. And then, by the way, Philly, aren't they lucking out lately? So Bulbrook was Arizona. Let's take a look. How good is he? And he's not bad. 63 overall, 17 years old. He's a good defenseman, right? He is a good defenseman in the future. No doubt about it. Let's go take a look at Bobby. Where are you at? Bobby Callahan, 63 overall at 18 years old. The same boat as Bulbrook, right? Good player, for sure. Hudobin, how good are you? Please. 77 overall at 19 years old with high elite potential. Your new top line, Hudobin, Patrick, and Svechnikov. Oh my God, what a happy day this is. This is glorious. Look at the puck skills category. Oh my God. We miss out on a franchise player. We miss out on Duncan. But then Yuri Hudobin falls right into our laps when we finished 20th in the league standings. Insane. And yes, I saw that James is an 88. Oh my God. What a moment for this series. Not only did we get the number 1 overall pick, but I didn't fuck it up. And I made the right choice. Crazy. And yeah, see, we should have had the 11th pick. From 11 to 1 to get the best player in the draft. Unbelievable. Absolutely crazy. Damn, man. All right. we still have a draft to finish with the extra picks as well. So let's get into this. Second round, and it looks like, I mean, there's no clear option here, is there? There is one high top 6 guy left in the third round who I might take now just to make sure we get him. But as far as forwards, you know, we could, man, that guy right there could be a steal, though. Holy shit. He'll probably be low top 9, but Yanni Nurmi, we'll have to keep an eye out on him in the 7th round. But, you know, we could end up with Clancy in the third round. There are still forwards we could end up with. As far as defensemen go, though, that one guy at the top of the list is absolutely the top choice. Goaltenders, I think we're good. We may take a goalie in this draft, right? We might take a goalie in this draft because there's a chance we could end up having to trade one of our own right now. Maybe even 2 of them. I'm not sure. So this might be the year to take a goalie. But as far as exact potential, you have a couple of exact top 6. So yeah, I'm going off the board with this next pick. He might be low top 4, but Dmitry Perezhogin. Perezhogin. 17 years old, so he's going to be more of a project defenseman, but he played in Russia. He is eligible to play on the Hershey Bears, and I know what you're saying. You know, Zhao, Jenks, Polak, you have Shannon as well, or even McCarron might be better picks, although if I were to go with anyone, it would be Shannon because he's a sniper. But I think we only have, like, if we want to end up with a half-decent defenseman in this draft, Perezhogin's the guy. There aren't any other defensemen aside from him. I know what you're saying, too. We might not need defensemen, but I'm going with him. Dmitry Perezhogin, low top 9 probably. Let's find out. Low top 4. Low top 4, that's what I meant. That's kind of the equivalent. So, low top 4 for Dmitry Perezhogin. I'm all right with that. I know and yeah, there you go. Never mind. Am I all right with that? I don't know if I'm all right with that anymore, as Polak would have been a good player. But, you know what? I mean, I'm good with it, man. I am. I'm good with it. We had to take a chance. He was going to be the best defenseman left in this draft, right? No doubt about that. As I'm trying to get to the second round, if this game would let me. He was the best defenseman left in this draft. You would assume. You know, there was no way to tell that Polak was going to be medium top 6, right? He was showing up as the same potential as Zhao and Jenks. So overall, I still feel all right with that pick. And judging by what I'm seeing here, he was still going to be the best defenseman in the draft. With hindsight, yes, we know that Polak would have been a good pick, but we had no way to know he was going to be that good. So I'm content with it. I'm fine with it. And like I mentioned, we are going to be able to end up with a forward that has the same potential. It's going to be, please be Tom. Oh, it's Toby Clancy. Toby Clancy, the 18-year-old sniper. As far as exact potentials, there's really nobody that we're going to want. I mean, Weidman could be high top 6, but I'd assume not. He'd probably be medium, low at the worst. So let's go with Toby Clancy as our next pick. The sniper, low top 9. Not bad. Not bad. Of course, high top 9 would be great because apparently that's just the potential to get through this draft. But overall, I'm happy with that pick. Again, low potentials aren't ideal, but we are making the best of it. So what is this, 4th round? 4th round, so we're probably going to go with Bomick as opposed to taking a power forward. Much rather take the playmaker. We have Ryan Bomick, who played for the Seattle Thunderbirds, 19 years old as well. Let's go. He's our next pick. How good are you? Low top 9? Medium top 9. All right, well, there we go. That's a win. That's a good pick for us. I'm buzzing, man. We got the number 1 overall pick, and actually it was still the 3rd round. That was one of our extra picks. I forgot about that. We ended up with a high elite player, man, after having the season that we did. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So let me double check. Now we're in the 4th round, correct? Yes, we are. Okay. So we had 2 picks in the 3rd round already. We had Clancy and Bomick that were both in the 3rd round. So we took Bomick as sort of an off-the-board pick, but we would have tried to take him anyway. So let's go. 4th round. It's going to be Josefsson. Even though he's a power forward, and I'm a bit nervous about picking a power forward. High 70, at best they're medium top 6 defensemen. So I don't feel too great about that, although it'd be funny if Todd Janes here was a certain other guy's brother, Ken Janes, but Joseph Westcott, like there's no guarantee. And then you have Nichols, Ed Nichols, 19 years old. We're just going to go with the guys that we actually have the information on, and it might not be the right pick, but I mean, look at this. Like, if I were to make one of these picks, right, it'd kind of be a crapshoot, don't you think? Like, I could take Stefan Tiemander and hope that he's better than what his potential's showing, but there's no guarantee. Same with Westcott. We could hope maybe that our scouting was just a bit off and that he's high top 6, but there's just no guarantee with that, as opposed to having these guys here that are showing up with the higher rated potential. That's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with Par Josefsson here in this 4th round, and we will take a look at Tiemander and a couple of the other guys. Josefsson was low top 9. We'll send to our next pick, which isn't too far away. Westcott ended up being low top 6. So we have another pick here in the 4th, and it might make sense now to go with an off-the-board pick. Teal is projected to go in the 5th to 6th. What's your name? Tyler Teal. Hell of a name. Played for the Steelheads. We have Janes as well. And we are in the we're in the 4th round still. So all of these guys, do I want to take a random shot in the dark at them? Not really. Do I want to go for Stefan Tiemander? Not really. I don't have a good feeling about it, especially because of that low league interest. So we're just going to go with the players that we have scouted, and we might miss out on some people, but that's okay. So with our next pick, so let's see, 5th round, 5th to 6th, and then 7th. I could go with Nikulin. Vladimir Nikulin. Could go with him and hope for a high bottom 6 potential, maybe even medium. He is projected to go in the 4th round. So let's see, 5th. Odds are though, if I try to get Teal in the 6th round, he won't be there. So I'm going to go... Damn. Who do I want here? Who do I want? I actually have no idea. It's the 4th round. It is the 4th round, not the 5th round. Okay. Damn. You know what? No, I think we can take an off-the-board pick. I think we can take an off-the-board pick. We could go with Janes and just kind of be like, hey, they're brothers. But, I mean, he's 20 years old, too, so his overall should be higher than what you would expect. We can go with Nichols, or we can take a risk on Nikulin. How many times did we scout Nikulin? 3 times. Exact bottom 6. I think, I'm just going to take the risk. I'm going to take the risk. We are going to go with Todd Janes as our next pick. Low top 6 is what I'm expecting. That's exactly what we got. So let's sim to our next pick. I'll scroll back through and take a look at what we passed up on, because I genuinely don't know. Let's see. Irwin, Jeffries, Edwards. None of these guys I had any information on. Tiemander was medium 7th. So, yeah, I mean, and Nikulin was low, bottom 6. So, yep, I'm good. I'm good with that pick. I am good with that pick. Next up, we will take... Let's see, it's the 5th round. So we could go with Nichols. We could go with Ma. Now, I'd rather just end up with the guys that have high potential. So let's take an off-the-board pick. Let's go with Tyler Teal. Again, an overager, so his overall should be a bit higher. Let's see. Low top 9. I'm content with that. Again, not all these guys might end up making it to that, to that big-time level. But I'm good with the players that we're getting here. Like I said, I mean, I don't have any of these guys really scouted out. That's the problem. I mean, I tried. But I think we might take Ma with the next pick, because we can wait on Nurmi. He's not going anywhere. So, yeah, let's go with Ma, and then maybe Okposo or Kalinka. Maybe Kalinka, because we don't exactly need another defenseman. We'll go with Will Ma. Will Ma! Flintstones. Wilma. Low bottom 6. He's just awful. Wilma, though. I hope you score the Stanley Cup winning goal. Oh, shit. Can we get Barney Rubble in the draft, too, please? All right. 6th round. 6th round. What are we going to get here? So we still have Nurmi on the board. And we have Kalinka. Perfect. So those will be our next 2 picks. Let's go with, I'm gonna get Nurmi first, though, just to make sure. I'd rather miss out on Kalinka. Nurmi's low top 9. That's good for a 6th round pick. Do we have another pick until the 7th round? We do not. So here we go. 5th pick of the 7th round, our final pick of a very eventful draft. And unfortunately for us, Kalinka is gone. So we'll have to go with either Helenius, Afinasenkov, Burgundy, Lysak, Beach, or Marshall. And again, defenseman, Not exactly anybody that we need. Murray Marshall and Neil Beach. There's one guy with high league interest. That's Tero Helenius, 19 years old. Played for Malmo. Afanasenkov. We have Joseph Burgundy. So I'd probably go with Burgundy or Helenius, but because he has the high league interest, let's go with Helenius as our final pick here in this draft. Low bottom 6 isn't bad for a 7th round pick. Oh shit, we have another one. I forgot. I completely forgot of how many picks that we had. So we'll get to go. And we'll get to take... Oh, it could be Lysak or Marshall. Marshall's actually projected to go in the 7th round. So because of that, he's our guy. Let's take Marshall with what will be our final pick of the draft. Low 7th, not ideal. This draft, though, highlighted by the number 1 overall pick in Yuri Khudobin. That is what mattered. The first draft where we actually made trades and had more than 7 picks, and we end up with Yuri Khudobin. Insane. And as we move into the re-sign phase, I will take care of it in this episode, as I tend to do. That way we can get a good look at some overalls. Of course, you know, there'll be progression heading into next season. But we need to see what the goalie situation is like. And there you have it. There's a good chance Ottinger could be gone, depending on the progression of Cork and Saget. Cork is looking for that big-time deal. Saget might still be an AHL-level goaltender. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what the progression is. So I would say more than likely expect me to make trades as we head into the next episode. There is a very good chance of that happening because of just the amount of players we're getting into the roster. I told you guys trades would eventually factor into this series, but they're not anything crazy. You know, I'm not going out and trying to acquire players that are already in the game. We're only trading for picks. We're doing 1-for-1 deals. That way it keeps it somewhat fair and keeps it challenging. Now, as far as who we're signing here, I'm going to wait to sign anybody. You have Janes, though, at a 68, 20 years old. Marshall, Perez Hogan, a lot of low potentials, unfortunately. We're going to wait to sign them, though. Maybe even until the start of the preseason. I want to re-sign everybody that we already have. Boys, Ekman, need contract. Burns as well. Clancy's a 63 overall. Left wings, Winquist. And next year might be the year I finally take a look at some player types. Khudobin, though, 77 overall, and he's only going to get better, which is crazy. And I mean better before we start the sim, right? He's going to get better before we actually start simming the next season. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy, as we'll continue to just breeze through, re-signing a ton of these guys. A lot of low potentials, but for once in a series of mine, they actually have a bit of value. So that's nice. We'll get rid of Legacy. I hope you enjoyed that wonderful contract, and we'll save on signing these guys for the moment. Unbelievable. Yuri Khudobin. Wow. I'm still in shock. Just an absolute shock of what's just happened in this video. The fact that we had as good of a season as we did, and then ended up with a player of that caliber. Amazing for this series. Finally, we get an amazing player from the draft. I mean, that's the best player we've drafted since Nolan Patrick. Absolutely. So let's take a look here. 44 contract spots, which isn't terrible, but factor in we could use some veterans, right? We could use some veterans. So really quickly, unsigned players were good. RFAs and UFAs were good too. Everyone's taken care of. So it's just the unsigned players. So we will sign Khudobin to his entry-level deal, no doubt about that. As well, so let's see, that'll be 45 contracts. I'm just trying to make sure, you know, how many spots I have before making these deals, because I do want to sign a veteran or two because of the cap space that we have yet again. So, let's sign Janes at a 68 overall. We'll sign Helenius, that'll bring us up to 46. And that's good. We'll sign the best forward and defenseman available. And we are good to go. I might take care of free agency too. I might just get us up to the preseason, because in the next episode we are going to have to make trades. No doubt. We're going to have to make trades. So, yeah, you know what? Let's just go to free agency. I did it in the last video too, I'm quite sure. So let's go to free agency. We'll sign the veteran players that we have to, and then the next episode will begin where we end up having to make a few more trades, mostly minor deals, just recouping some draft picks. But potentially with the goaltending, it could be a major deal, and a first-round pick could be involved. Speaking of Jake Dotchin, he made it up to an 88 overall. Pretty sure I mentioned him. Was that this video or last video that I mentioned him? I think it was last video. But still, wow. Anyway, veterans. Who do we need? We could re-sign Rhett Rakshani. Olarat, Michael Grabner, and Brian Little. Carl Hagelin's down to a 75. Let me look for defensemen really quick. So we have TJ Brennan. Is that Chris Breen, I imagine? Yes, it is. We have Warg. Stefan Warg. 5th round pick of Anaheim in 2008. Damn. Moteen. Anybody else? Allen. Bertilson. Come on. There's got to be some name that jumps off the page here. Laridson. Anybody of really low overall? Mac Bennett. Alright, well, that's kind of the caliber of guy I was thinking of. Come on, there's got to be somebody that really regressed here. There has to be. Somebody, please save me from myself. Does somebody show up that I can sign? Please. I'm just looking for a name. That's all. Just a name that would be kind of fun to sign because they're terrible. Anybody, please? Tenorti, Luca, Alt, Hakanpää. I'll sign him. Why not? He's already on the AHL squad of things. Might as well sign him, and in that way I can cut him. So 17 mil. There you go, buddy. See? It was worth it. It was worth wasting that much time. And then for forwards, Kale Mulriat. I've never been able to pronounce that name, and I'm sorry. I know your first name is Kale. Kale? It's fuck it, man. Just, take a contract and leave me alone. And with that, we are pretty much good. We're pretty much good. I'll sign one more defenseman and one more forward for the hell of it. At least one more defenseman. Let's sign Chris Breen to a half decent deal. We're up to about 34 million, so we'll just go 1.75. We'll get these two guys under contract, and we will be good to go. I cannot wait. Cannot wait for next episode to see the progression from our players. It is going to be crazy. And his name was Kale. At least I was right about that. But we get Breen, we get Hakanpää as well. Guys, I hate to do this to you, but the episode stops here. In the next episode, we will I'll sim ahead to the start of the preseason to save time. I'll get the team set up, and I'll show you guys what the Washington Capitals will look like for the 2024-2025 NHL season. What an episode! Will next year finally be the year that we make the playoffs with the additions that we've made just through this draft alone? I think that could very well be the case. I'm excited to find out, and of course I hope you are too. But again, that'll do it for this one. But if you have enjoyed this video, of course, make sure to hit that like button to help support the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already to continue following this series and others. Follow me on Twitter at Tugi24 and join the notification squad to never miss a video. And I'll see you guys in the next episode of Draft to Glory.